Hey everyone, this is Jordan. Today I'm going to show you how I make my smoked brisket using a Traeger pellet grill. The first part of the video is the initial prep, which needs to be done the day before you're going to smoke it. I allow about 16 to 18 hours to smoke and then rest the brisket. I usually use between a 15 and 16 pound whole packer brisket. So here I have washed and patted dry the meat, and I will go right into the trimming of the fat. One thing that I do is separate the point from the flat. I will use the flat for sliced or chopped brisket, and then I use the point to make burn-ins. There are actually two muscles that make up the whole packer brisket, which are the flat and the point. The flat is leaner and better for slices in my opinion, and then the point is much fattier, and if you don't separate the two muscles, it will take longer to smoke. Also, the point is just better suited for making burn-ins. I put a picture of my burn-ins at the end of the video, and I will make a whole video for those later. Okay. As shown on the brisket anatomy, there is a layer of hard fat that separates the two muscles. What you're going to want to do, and what I tried to show, is you're going to want to leave as much of that hard fat attached to the flat as you can. In this video, the flat is going to be what you're seeing on top as I cut the two muscles apart. So it'd be better to err on the side of leaving a little bit of the point attached to the flat, just so that you don't take too much of the fat layer off that kind of acts as a protection to the meat so that it doesn't dry out when you're doing this long cooking process. You don't want that meat to get dried out. I also tried to show the different orientations of the grain of the meat. The flat here is on the bottom, going kind of at an angle, and then the point that I left on the flat is pretty much perpendicular to the bottom of the screen. Alright, I'm just going to trim down the fat until there's only about a 1/4 of an inch layer. If you leave much more than that, it just won't render down, and you'll be left with a gelatinous layer of fat that will just waste your rub because it'll probably get cut off and discarded. Okay, so I flip over the flat, which is what we are working with here. To get a better look at the grain of the meat, I'm going to cut a small notch on the corner, cutting across the grain, because after I put the rub on and it forms its bark, it's going to be kind of hard to see the direction of the grain, so the notch will act as a reference once the brisket is done and being sliced. So I am not a believer in letting the meat's flavor speak for itself. I don't want just some salt and pepper on the brisket. I want a brisket that is smoky and sweet and kind of spicy. I make my own brisket rub, and I will put the recipe in the description, and I use it very liberally. Okay, so once you have your brisket trimmed and seasoned, wrap it tightly in some plastic wrap and then let it chill out in the refrigerator overnight for up to 24 hours before you intend to smoke it. Okay, since I wanted to have this brisket for dinner, I was up at 4 a.m. getting that grill started. So on a Traeger, just follow the manufacturer's instructions. Set it to smoke with the lid up for about 10 minutes until you can start to see some smoke. Then shut the lid and set it to the temperature that you're wanting to get at, which in my case is going to be set to 225 Fahrenheit. So after it's smoked for, about 3 to 4 hours or so, I'll go in every couple of hours and spritz it with some apple juice, just straight apple juice, but it's probably best to get a fine mister so that you don't spray off any of that seasoning that you put on there. There's this thing called the stall when smoking briskets. It usually occurs when the internal temperature reaches somewhere between 145 to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. To help with the cooking time, I use a method called the Texas crutch, which limits the stall due to the evaporation of the liquids. So I just wrap the meat tightly with aluminum foil. You could use butcher paper if you'd like. And it took actually about 10 and a half to 11 hours to get to the point where I needed to do this. Alright, after a couple more hours of cooking the wrapped brisket, once it reaches ideally 202 degrees internally, it's ready to be taken out, wrapped, and then set to rest for about 45 minutes to an hour before slicing. And then once it's done resting, you're good to slice and serve. Just be sure to cut parallel to the notch from earlier. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and share this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see y'all next time. For any of your real estate needs in San Angelo and the surrounding area, feel free to contact me. I am a designee of the Graduate Realtor Institute, a senior real estate specialist, a pricing strategy advisor, and an e-pro.